One word to describe Colin Hay. How do you do that?
Let me think.
God, I'm gonna take 10 seconds and make it good. He's a storyteller.
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 Don't want to say storyteller, mate, because everyone's been saying that.
Funny.
Hilarious.
Hilarious.
Complex.
Obsessive compulsive.
Martian.
Alien.
Scottish.
Scottish.
Genius.
Well, not genius, but
Is a man one word?
Living legend. That's 2 words. Can I hyphenate?
Elegant.
Honest.
Honest.
Generous.
And he's a treasure.
Intense.
resilient.
Brave.
Bubbles.
My, it's a beautiful world. I like swimming in the sea. I like to go out beyond the wide breakers, where a man can still be free, or a woman if you are one. I like swimming in the sea. My name's Colin Hay and I was born on the southwest coast of Scotland. Britain in the 50s and 60s was in black and white. And there's something beautiful about that, you know, but bleakly beautiful. It was usually raining, the sky was grey, it was economically depressed, it was fucking black and white, you know, there was still big holes where they dropped bombs, you know. I was brought up in a music shop from the age of 5 until I was 14. Amazing way to grow up, surrounded by pianos and guitars and drums and records. It was the only music shop in town. It was the only place where you could get records.
My only memory is us in the music shop. And it's only when you think about it now how incredible that was to be immersed in such an exciting period of history as far as music was concerned.
One day I came home from school and my father was sitting there. He goes, "Come here, have a listen to these guys." And he played me a track by the Beatles and just blew my mind, you know. He said, "They're pretty good." He said, I think they'll do well." My father and mother were very hard-working people from Glasgow. They were ambitious and they wanted to have a good life for them and the family. And my father got sick of the rain, the weather was horrible, and I was a bronchial asthmatic, and he figured he'd go somewhere warmer.
Colin's health was not good in that climate, and Dad had also served in the war in India and Singapore, so he knew there was other things in the world.
Come over to the sunny side now. Australia, a great place for families. Opportunity for you, fine for your wife, great for your children. You could be on your way to a sunnier future in the new year.
So in the 50s, the government obviously was, encouraging, skilled or unskilled labourers to come out from, the UK or wherever. And, for £10 you could jump on the boat and come on out to Australia and work out here.
He was very heroic, my father, as fathers should be, in big ways and small. You know, we went to the other side of the world. That was a big thing. It just blew our minds. I sailed across the sea. My family, me. It was like going from black and white to Technicolor. Everyone was different, like kids my age were different. There was less social entrenchment. There was less difference, religious division.
So it was a prosperous time for the children coming from the grey part of Scotland to come to the warmth of sun and sky and openness.
People had that free vibe about them, like they just would go surfing and they would go to the beach and they lived outside and they wore, flip-flops and shorts and stuff.
The very first day I ever met Colin was when he arrived at our school, straight off the boat from Scotland, and his Scottish accent was so thick nobody could understand a word he said.
People used to say to me, "What kind of accent has you got, mate?" Oh, it's a Scottish accent. No, you can't talk like that here, mate. Got to learn how to talk like us. So I learned how to speak like an Australian bloke, just to assimilate and get by and not get into too many fights.
The Australian kids would make fun of you and you'd hit one of them and they were bigger and stronger, they'd had a good diet and they'd beat the crap out of you and you'd start to speak the way they speak.
Everyone knew who he was. Red hair, big personality and very talented musician, right from the word go.
The guitar was always an extension of Colin. He had it with him all the time.
I dream of a lion in the sun. In my ears, hear the ocean roaring, like our good wayfaring son. I'll travel home with some more good stories. I'll build them up through time. They'll all become a pack of lies when I'm beyond my prime. Oh, my mama, oh, mama, oh. Oh, my mama, oh, my mama, oh, my mama, oh, my mama, oh. Around 68, 69, I was playing the guitar and singing, and Jeff Richardson put together the Balmoral Folk Club.
It was his first professional gig where it was like the grown-ups, I suppose, and Colin became a fixture in the Balmoral Folk Club.
I was playing in bands as well, but I didn't really relate to bands that well because I never really played blues very well. I couldn't play anything very well. I wasn't an expert in anything, but I knew that I wanted to write songs.
He had that, you know, there's nothing else I want to do.
The only reason he was at university was because his parents insisted that he went.
And so I realised that I needed to strategise. I needed to plan, I needed to plot and scheme, that this was not going to happen easily.
I first met Colin in late 70s. He was acting in a play, a musical. The first thing that struck me was his singing and his presence on stage, really bang.
And just before I went to do that show, I met Ron, and that was a real creative light going off.
We jammed, and it was like I was fitting in to what he had.
Meeting Ron was a watershed moment, I think. I can remember Colin coming home from having visited friends, and he said, I've just met this guy. I've just met the guy I want to play with. He's amazing.
He tracked me down and said, we've got to continue. I said, yeah, that was pretty good. Yeah, let's do that again. And then...
We wrote Down Under during that time, maybe a year before Men at Work formed.
I would have something half finished or just an idea. I'd pass it to him. He would come and we started to get really combined.
Rono, who's a brilliant guitarist, and, normally in a band you'd want someone could do everything and flash, and Rono was just a very unique guitar player who'd played wrong styles of music and other styles. He'd play like a swing guitar in reggae, and he mixed things up.
That was like a musical marriage, the two of them. It was magic.
Men at Work probably would have never happened if it hadn't have been for Kim, because Kim introduced me to Greg, because Greg had gone to school with Kim, and also Jerry.
And I played in a band with Jerry.
Called Lace Medallion.
Lace Medallion.
One of the guys who I'd played with for years, he basically said he didn't want to do it anymore. And I went and saw Colin the same day and said, do you want to do something?
Then Jerry brought in John. John was Jerry's guy. And then that was the lineup.
Melbourne was Mecca, and the quality of bands in Melbourne was just so strong.
It was a really happening pub scene. Like, people love live music.
It's the only thing that made any sense, because it was young people telling their story.
Cricketers Arms, they actually had a residency at the Cricketers Arms.
It wasn't a rock gig until we made it one.
Well, the Cricketers became a huge residency for Men at Work, and it was a scene.
Incredibly tiny, free, chaotic, unsafe, hot, sweaty, smoky, but an unbelievable gig.
The place got so crowded, and I remember I remember Greg, playing the sax, and there's a guy standing, inches away from his face.
So even if we only had 50 or 60 people there, it was packed. When we put 150 people in there, they were hanging from the rafters.
One guy drunk fell on my bass and snapped my neck, bass. I had to gaffer it up and play the rest of the gig. The audience was great. It was a good audience.
You need the smelly, smoky bar and the drunks falling on your equipment to get in touch.
As you went along to successive gigs, you could see how the songs were being refined and developed and the audiences were building.
We played at the Pier Hotel in Frankston every Wednesday night, Cricketers' Arms every Thursday night.
5 nights a week, they'd be playing.
Even 7 days a week, for weeks on end.
His ambition was so powerful. That's what drove it.
We were on our way. I was going to make sure of that. I just just get out of the way.
It was obsessive. It was all we talked about. It was our entire life. And the only way to be with Colin was to be a part of that.
Dare I say, that also is one of the things that attracted people to me, is that they knew that I would do that. So they could latch onto that and I would deliver.
They were a funny band, Men at Work, because they were very idiosyncratic. They rejected most of the norms of the pop music business at the time. They wore clothes that no one else, everyone else was wearing big shoulder pads, and they wear singlets, and they kind of were proud of this difference, which created this really loyal audience.
Paul Russell said to me, look, there's one guy in particular in the Melbourne sales branch who keeps digging up the car park and putting Men at Work signs around the place because he's so passionate about this band that I want you to take a look and see if there's anything in it. I saw them and I thought, well, this band's interesting. I got more into their material and came back and I told Paul, who was running the company, that I thought, I think they're worth having a go with, they're really good. So I went one night to check them out again, and along with me came this guy, Peter McKeon.
And he said, I just really like them, I love them, come on, I want to see what you think.
And he said, I'd really like to produce these guys.
What do you want to do? I'm in, whatever it is, I just think they're great.
I managed to sort of bring them around to the point where he could do a single with them.
We started to work on Who Can It Be Now in a small rehearsal space. And right from the get-go, I started moving parts around.
There was too much shit in there, It needed to be just weeded out. And that's what McKeon did.
I started to move the sax part to the front and Jerry's famous drum fill to open the song.
When we played it live, that saxophone hook never came in until halfway through the song, which is ridiculous. But when you're playing in a pub, it doesn't matter because everyone's getting fucked up and you're playing away and you go, dum, 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 dum. And then all of a sudden, halfway through, you're but, a radio programmer's not going to, he's not in the pub, he's not drinking, he's, 9 o'clock in the morning, good morning, WNCK, here we go, and you dum, dum.
So I walk in and I hear this thing and I go, oh my God, this is an absolute smash, and it's not even finished. And I just thought, this is so going to work. It was so exciting.
There was a lot of things that conspired to create our success. Firstly, we were good, and we had good songs, and we had a great record producer, and we made a good record.
We tried very hard to get them to release Men at Work in America, but they were slow. The only commitment I could get was a commitment to release a single.
Unless it came from Great Britain, there was no rest of the world in terms of music.
So we had all these little spot fires all over the world where the record was doing well. And the States was the last country, and the United States, in a supreme example of cultural arrogance, rejected the record twice. Said, look, there's no hits on this, we're not going to release it.
I went and saw my old boss there, who was head of the international company, a guy called Dick Asher. I said, look, the American company won't release this, and it's ridiculous they don't release it because it's happening all over the world and charting incredibly well.
So Dick Asher listened to it, and he overrode the NR not to release, and they released it.
But the moment that went to radio, it just went bang. Pivotal thing that broke them in America was the launching of MTV and the video, because MTV was launched right when the American company finally decided to pick up the single.
The whole thing just started to build, and it was like we just created this wave, and then we just rode the thing. It's like there was a point where it was like we couldn't do anything wrong.
I was going down to Australia to visit my family and to do some advance work for the Fleetwood Mac tour. And while I was there, I was at a big department store and trying on a pair of new jeans, as you do, and I'm hearing this through the speakers of the store. I'm hearing this doo 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 doo. I'm hearing it, and I go, man, this is a damn good track. You know, who is this? You know, and just got into this album. I thought this album is incredible.
I was connected to Dennis Dunstan, who later became my manager, and he had a great sense about music. And he related this band, and we were looking for an opening act. And he literally called it before it happened. He said, Mick, they're going to have a #1 album.
At this fancy dress party, I went up to the DJ at about 12:30, 1 o'clock, and it was playing the same old material that was around at the time. And I said, just put this on and crank it up. The rest is history. The whole party just got up, started jumping around and dancing and having a ball. And that's when Mick came up to me and says, is that those guys that you've been playing in the car? I said, yeah, that's Men at Work. I said, that's the guys I think we should have as the opening act. He says, well, you got my vote.
They came on the tour, they opened up, and as the tour progressed, this little unknown band, they ended up by the end of the tour with a #1 album, or certainly a #1 song.
That was Who Can It Be Now? Went to #1 during the tour, and by the end of the tour, their album was #1 and ours was #3.
They took us under their wing. They actually taught us how to work a big stage.
They showed their mettle with what they did with us and became a very powerful component on that tour.
You have to get to the point where there is that critical mass. You have to get to the point where there's that tipping point. You have to get to the point where those little fires are smouldering, and then they go boom. And once they take, nothing can stop it.
The 80s kind of began with Men at Work. That was the shot that was fired.
It was like this different type of ecstatic energy running through their songs.
We were travelling, doing the hippie trail across India and things, and we'd left this small pub band, and we'd been travelling for, I don't know, 6 months or something, and we were in the middle of India, and I was sure I could hear Down Under. Then somewhere, I don't know, in the Middle East, I thought I heard it again. I called the waiter over, and I said, I know this song, I know these people. And he looked at me like I was an idiot, and which I was. And he said, well, yeah, they're the biggest band on earth at the moment.
We were doing 5-day sales of 325,000 records every 5 days.
I'm back from a man in Brussels.
Men at Work absolutely was the entire consciousness of what Australia meant to Americans at that time.
He just smiled and gave me a Vegemite sandwich.
Vegemite. Has anybody talked about Vegemite?
No one in this country had ever heard of a Vegemite sandwich before.
I do believe that song was a mass representation of, like Vegemite culture, Australian culture.
And now everybody kind of knows what that is. They won't eat it, but they at least know what it is.
Yeah.
When I think about all the people who've won the Best New Artist Award in the past, I realize that this award is not just for the new star of today, but for someone who just possibly may be a star for years to come.
A Grammy is a huge accolade, you know, it's a huge thing.
Our dressing room was next to Miles Davis, which was next to Lena Horne, which was next to Ella Fitzgerald, which was next to all these people. Famous people. And then there was us.
And the award goes to Men at Work.
Where am I? Best New Artist 1982. That's what we were, Best New Artist.
And we are the Men, and we'll see you again. No one knows what I can see, and what I see, it pleases me on my room.
I got into Men at Work at Cargo. Like, I knew the radio songs for Business as Usual, but I was a little young to be like, I want that record. But then Cargo, I was just, when it came out, I was just like, for some reason, I have to buy that record.
I can't get to sleep. I think about the implications.
I hold Overkill in such a high regard. I mean, that song is gorgeous.
Day after day it reappears. Night after night my heartbeat shows.
We played at Radio City Music Hall, which is a very exciting place to play. I think we did either 5 or 7 nights. And I called my mother and I said, well, you'll have to come and see the band. And she said, oh yeah, we'll come. So I brought them across. My father was quite truly awestruck by the city and everything about it. I had a limousine for them. I had a limousine for them all the time at one point. And my father got in the limousine. I said, everything okay? And he goes, how does that guy know that every time I walk down, he seems to be just there? How does he know that I'm coming down? I said, oh, well, he's there for you all the time, Dad, so he's waiting for you.
We were over at their house, and then Linda, his wife then, said, Carol, you haven't seen my new car. So out we go to the driveway, and there's this beautiful little black Alpha. And then down the driveway, there's a little red one, just like hers. And I said, oh, whose is the red one? And everyone goes quiet. And he said, oh, it's yours. So I was driving along in that car, and one of his songs came on the radio. I had to pull over because it was just completely overwhelming.
I quite liked the caviar and vodka in first class. That was quite nice.
These guys went from playing a pub. Within 2 years, we were in a helicopter flying over the US Festival on our way to be second on the bill with The Clash. 300,000 people.
Well, you are here, and you are them. And this is us, and we are the men.
Flying in with a helicopter, seeing all these people, was amazing.
The stage was so big, you had to wave, to the saxophone player. Hi, I'm up here.
Like chasing wild geese in the snow. Pressing faces on the window panes. That's a long, long time ago. We go to a restaurant. You say it's love you want. I realize I can see it in your eyes. You're moving on to something more.
The real test of a band is not when you're on your way up, it's when you're on your way down. Because when you're on your way up and you're going for something, then you have something achievable. But once you've achieved it, the next logical question is, now what?
Because America was so late, Cargo and Business as Usual collided.
It was a constant men-at-work song in high rotation in America for probably 3 years.
It was saturation. There was no break between the first and the second album.
They were so big and there was so much airplay that they were having...
No Men at Work.
No Men at Work.
No Men at Work.
Non-Men at Work days on radio. I'd never heard that ever.
As soon as you bring in the potential of large sums of money, things all of a sudden get very, very weird.
Egos sort of start to take over, perhaps. There's a sense of believing what everyone's saying about you, that you're so fantastic and famous.
Conflict began to happen in the band, and it wasn't being resolved.
Things that are not said are usually more trouble than things that are said.
And even a very simple thing like a band having some kind of sense of unity. And then Rolling Stone comes along, take all these pictures, ends up Greg and I are on the cover. Had nothing to do with me, it wasn't my idea, but it's how they saw the band. So external things start to come into play, which cause all these resentments and divides that have nothing really to do with you.
Jerry had decided he was going to get his own manager, and that new manager was actually going to be his sister.
Who knew nothing about music business, who knew nothing about bands and nothing about anything to do with what we were doing. Jerry said, oh, well, Russell's not a real manager. Maybe Russell's not a real manager, but I'm not. Am I a real musician, You put a bit of music down in front of me, I'm going to take a few days to get through it. But I can knock out a tune and entertain people, so we'd gotten to where we were because of what we had.
I basically made a decision that I was going to leave.
I wanted out of the band. I was going to leave.
But then I thought, I'm going to hang in here.
And Russell talked me into staying.
Then I was asked to leave.
And I was very disappointed because of the way it was done, because I thought we'd just at least work it through.
I didn't want to sack anybody. This is not what I wanted in the first place. I don't want to get on stage with these guys anymore, and I'm done. Russell said to me, but it's your band. What are you going to leave for?
He probably underplayed the contributions of the other people.
So Ron left.
I didn't really have a reason. It wasn't like thought out.
And of course that was funny because we were in the studio one day.
I just had this feeling, I want to go.
I said, you coming back? And he said, no.
And off I went.
And he left and he went home and he never came back. And then Greg left, the band was done.
You'd never pick these 5 people to put together, right? But it came together, it had a chemistry, there was a magic.
Bands are funny things, and there's way people fit together and add certain things.
This band was a great dream of mine, and it had let me down. I felt resented, I felt betrayed.
It's a marriage, and it's a weird marriage, and the only people you have to kind of go after is each other.
With that particular bunch of people involved, it was too much psychological, emotional fragility. It was something great and huge, which was essentially just kept small by small-mindedness. And I'm certainly not guiltless, but at the time it's like, okay, well, this is the information that I have. This is the decision I'm going to make. And when you think back on it, you think, that was the dumbest fucking thing, But
we have quite a bit more coming with Colin Hay, and he's going to tell us why, besides musical differences, these guys left the band, right?
No. After a few years of recovery from the band's breakup, Colin James Hay is now on his own, nurturing a solo career.
When you have a brand name like Men at Work, just be aware of what may happen if you aren't Men at Work anymore.
As there were lots of things that conspired to make the band successful, there were lots of things that conspired for my commercial failure after that.
I mean, that's a really unique situation. You win a Grammy, you've got tens of thousands of people out going, oh, yes, we love you. The band break up, and you go out and you have expectations.
You think it's going to work. You think that people are going to play it, and then nobody plays it.
So you're the same person, you're the same performer, you have the same talent, but nobody cares.
Yeah, it's frustrating. Frustrating because I felt like I kept on making wrong moves. I kept on doing fucking up in a way.
I think he was struggling then.
Colin at first was a little angry. There was a sense of this isn't fair.
Doesn't matter, it's like your time's gone by and you're on the dark side of the moon. My life was chaotic. I was reeling with, alcoholic behavior.
There were years where being around him was like walking on eggshells, and it wasn't fun.
Colin had been inconsolable for quite a while. Nothing seemed to work anymore. And I just thought, I can't do this anymore, just can't do this anymore.
My wife had left me, and I was drinking a lot, doing lots of drugs.
And it was an unhappy period, very unhappy period.
I told my father I was an alcoholic, and he didn't take it well. He couldn't really deal with it. He didn't really want to know about it, really, Whereas it used to be very real and very dark and very painful, and, wondering how I'd gotten to where I was, It's a scary, when you end up, getting blackouts and then you're waking up not remembering how you got home, it's time to stop.
He suffered terribly. He fell off a couple of times when he was first starting to give it up.
It's like every day I would get up and I would pick up this fucking sword, and go to battle every day and slay the dragon. And sometimes you would win, but it was such an effort and so stressful and just takes so much out of you. But it's all about surrendering. I mean, it really is all about just not picking up the sword. So everything was pointing to Los Angeles for me. I did it by going to AA meetings. It took me 5 years to finally stop. I mean, it was all progression. It's never just, okay, boom, one thing and then off you go. It's always just, you struggle and you fall and you pick yourself up and you start again. And I moved in here. I bought this house in 1991. It's been fantastic to me, this house, because it felt like a very safe, kind place, And so I started doing yoga and, and just writing songs.
I mean, it's a lovely place for him. It's a peaceful place for him. It's a healthy place for him.
I had nothing to look back to. I wasn't walking in my old footsteps, I wasn't walking past the Esplanade Hotel. I wasn't walking past all these places that had my history. I was walking towards something, and I wasn't sure what that was, but it was exciting. I hear the calling of the music. From 91 on, being in Los Angeles was really, for me, synonymous with really playing at Largo.
I met Colin when I just first moved out here. Somebody brought me to see him play, and I didn't know who Colin Hay was. I knew who Men at Work were, but I started this venue Largo on Fairfax around the end of 91.
And that was right when I was dropped, and it was right when I'd given up the drink.
He was the first person that I was like, God, I wonder would he play here? And he said, sure, and then it became, like right off the bat, a monthly show.
I can't get to sleep. I think about the implication.
The shows were always sold out on Friday nights, and it would be Mitch Hedberg opening, and then Elliott Smith would get up and do a song, and all these great, great talents, and then Colin would get up and do Overkill, and everyone would be like, I'm not going up after that. There's no fucking way I'm going after that,
And he hit those notes at the end.
I can't get to sleep. I think about the implications of diving in too deep.
And I was floored, and I was like, okay, I can't take this. Like, this is this is the best thing I have seen.
Largo exists on Flanagan's Taste. If someone's playing there, you know it's good. You know it's real.
Anytime there's anything in Los Angeles that resembles a family or a community, people gravitate towards it because it is the thing that everyone is missing. And Largo definitely became that place, and it was definitely Flanagan's personality and his pit bull-like attitude about protecting the artists, the comedians, the musicians that work there from the industry.
You know, there's no agent would come near me. And I'd call them and they'd go, oh, you got a record deal? No. No. You know. So I just would sit at home and I'd kind of write songs and I would go and play at Largo.
Him playing at Largo, that challenge that was involved, is the very thing that sharpened his tools as far as being a communicator and being a performer to a whole new level.
Night after night, my heartbeat shows the fear. Ghosts appear and fade away. Ghosts appear and fade away. Ghosts appear and fade away.
There was no other major record label interested in signing me, from what I could tell. I just decided that the best thing for me to do would be to do an acoustic album.
I had a record label at the time and went, look, I'd love to put it out. We didn't record him, he recorded himself, but we were the conduit to putting it out. And it was beautiful.
Into the cornfields, into the cornfields.
It wasn't particularly that I wanted to become an independent artist, it was just circumstance. Circumstance usually dictate most things.
I didn't really know what to do with myself, so I thought, well, I better go out on the road to distract myself, if nothing else. So off I went on my merry way, playing for the likes of your good selves around this fair land. But I was using you shamelessly while I plotted and schemed, tried to figure out how to get back to the lofty peaks of superstardom where I so clearly belong. That was in 1991. I have a long-term plan.
The road is, it gets brutal because it just wears you down. It wears you, you lose sense of time and place. And so there's a dizzying sense of like chaos. I'm sure if you're older and wiser and keep it together and are sober, it's a little better if you're drinking tea instead of whiskey. But it's still not a normal way to live a life.
There's a pipe. There's a pop busted. There's a pop busted. So, no bathrooms, no running water on this side of the so apparently nobody's overly concerned about it.
The first tour that I did, we played this little theater. It was just a bunch of drunken fraternity friends who came. They weren't into the idea that Colin was doing any kind of show. And the first thing I thought when I got in here is, why are we playing this shithole to 60 people? And why isn't this more successful than it is?
We went to see him at the Fringe, and there was 5 people in the audience, right? There was, you know, and that was a regular thing. But he went from being this massive rock star to real, you know, And in show business, that's a hard thing to take. It really is. I mean, that's my biggest fear, is playing to nobody.
There was one gig that nobody came, you know, in Broome. Just not one person came. It was just me and the tour manager, David, and the publican, the guy who ran the place, the guy who owned it. And I walk in, and there's fucking nobody there. And he just looks at me and he goes, "Oh, I don't know what happened, Kel. Must be a bit cold." That was his reason. I mean, it was Broome. It never gets fucking cold, you know. And I'm going on stage, you know. I'm going to play still, because I don't know. Maybe that's what Protestantism is. I don't know. I remember David coming up to me saying, "You don't have to go on, mate. There's nobody here." I went, "Oh, really?" He goes, "Yeah." "Oh, fuck, let's go. Let's just go then, you know." Terrible night, though, really.
Yeah, it's brutal. It's depressing.
I couldn't figure out whether I was tricking myself, whether it was habit that I was out there for, and probably was a bit of habit, whether I liked it, what I was trying to do with these people who were kind of like, yeah, you know, play down under.
I don't envy him. I don't. That is a hard slog, especially when you've been doing it for so long.
The obvious question here is why do it again?
Yeah, that's a good question.
It's like a big room for me. Bit fancy. Because I played in some shitholes, let me tell you. If you hear a voice, call out your name, saying you can stop yourself from falling.
You see, people like Colin are inspirational, always to me still, because the only sort of way to be invulnerable is almost to be completely vulnerable. You can be clever and everything like that, but the more vulnerable you are to those humiliations that come to you, the more, and if you've got the balls, the more you'll be what you really are when you're in front of an audience.
People that are committed to telling their stories and having their expression irrespective of the number of people in front of them is a very powerful thing. You have to follow that path. You have to follow your vision. You can't shortcut your vision, you know, if you're searching for truth through art.
There's no time left for faking. I no longer need to understand what it is to truly be a man. Only when I gave up on my master plan did I then hear freedom calling. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the one, the only Queen of South Soul, my wife, Cecilia Noel.
I was living in Manhattan. The first time that I saw him at those famous studios on 8th Avenue, I recognized him from the back. He was pouring coffee, and I came into the lounge, and there he was. Of course, we met and talked for a few minutes. And then years later, I was playing at this benefit in Topanga Canyon, and he was there on stage playing before me. And one of my girls, she would say to me, "Oi, oi, oi, your boyfriend is there. He's here, he's here, he's here, he's come." I said, "Well, no, you're gonna marry him one day. You're gonna see, you're gonna marry him one day."
You think that is... I think what? What are you saying to me?
They're yin yang and just such a fabulous balance. And she's just so explosive and wild and intense. And he has that wonderful dry rye quality.
You're disturbing my wah. My wah. See, baby, I can't think straight anyway.
I wanted a real man. I wanted someone powerful like him, in spiritually, you know, like he seemed to be very solid, like a bull, you know, like that Scottish thing of that. I'm here. I'm gonna protect you.
Right.
What do you want to talk about?
Everything and nothing at the same time.
It's a beautiful world. I like swimming in the sea.
She's brought an element to him that I think has given him some stability.
You really take your pincel and you draw. You draw your life. How do you want it to be? And, you know, you make the strokes the way you want them, you know, to flow. I think that we have painted a beautiful life together. It's really lovely. Okay.
Goodbye.
I'm going to
Gracias.
try to be quiet, but,
No,
you know,
please.
I'm going to have to move some heavy equipment.
I understand.
She's Cecilia Noel. There's nobody else like Cecilia Noel.
Are you looking at me? Me. Are you looking at me? I said, are you looking at me, pal? Cecilia Noel, ladies and gentlemen. George Burns always used to say, make sure you, I actually don't know what George Burns exactly used to say, but I think he used to say, make sure you always take your wallet or your money on stage with you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome a man who needs no introduction.
I actually got to meet and know Colin through my wife, Deb. They were really good friends. And I remember her taking me to a cafe in Melbourne, and Colin used to do a live show there. And at the table I was at was a big executive from Mushroom Records, and he had with him a young group that he had hired. And I said, oh, that's cool, you bring him here to see Colin, and it was a dinner sort of show, and they said, oh, we always bring our new acts to see Colin Hay, because of anyone we have ever signed, of anyone out there, no one knows how to hold an audience, knows how to deliver in a live setting like Colin Hay. It's like getting a masterclass in how to perform.
By your leave, I think that I'll be going now. I think I'll stay a little long.
I heard him sing just acoustically. And it was at one of these events that it just stopped me in my tracks. And I, for the first time, I think, really heard his voice and just what a uniquely gorgeous voice he has.
Pressing faces on the window pane. That's a long, long time ago. We go to a restaurant. You say it's love you want.
Singing is a huge part of it, but it's just a part of it.
Because all the songs, they all hang out in the dressing room. New songs are always sitting there looking expectantly. I wonder if I'll get played tonight. And Down Under's always kind of standing in the corner, filing its fucking nails, you know. Just going, oh, yes, well, he'll probably play me last, of course, because I'm the most famous. And sometimes I play it a bit earlier, you know. He goes, oh, he wants me now. Oh. Never realised till now that my song's a gay man.
His storytelling is second to none. I just pissed myself laughing from beginning to end. I never wanted it to stop.
When he talks about his father, it's hysterically funny, but it's so honest.
My daddy used to sing my songs to me as well when he would drive me to the airport to come back to America. He would croon my songs. like Sinatra, you know. He would be driving along and he would just turn around and he'd go, I can't get to sleep. And he would sing the wrong words just to annoy me. I think about the complications. That's one of yours, you know.
He has a good time with the stories he's telling. And he's happy to take the piss out of himself as much as he takes the piss out of you. So, you know, you're all kind of having a good laugh together.
I went back to Scotland and I played my hometown. Now, my hometown, I've never played there before. I'm about 3 or 4 songs into it and it's going quite well. And I hear the door open just on the stage, just here, you know. And I turned around, there's just 2 women standing there with their arms crossed. And I said, away you go, I'm on stage. And they said, aye, there's a car blocking the neighbour's driveway. It needs shifting. Can you announce it? Oh, I love this. I love this. This is fucking magic. I said, oh, I'm trying to do a show here. Ah, I can see that. But it's blocking the driveway. It needs shifting. If whoever's blocking the fucking neighbour's drive, move your car. And somebody yelled out, welcome home, Colin.
It's not, let's rock this arena. It's, here's a funny story that'll make you laugh. Okay, enjoy your beer. Now I'm gonna sing a song that's gonna fucking make you cry and think about the lost loves of your life. And then I'll tell another funny story, don't worry.
Tells a lot of stories these days. Sometimes I want him to sing more. I go, shut up, sing another song.
I can get to sleep. I think about the implication.
What? I followed a girl out to LA, which is always a good idea. And not much remains of this relationship other than the fact that she brought me to Largo.
Whenever he'd play Largo, I would bring another friend to the show.
I didn't know what Carrie's version of this is, but I don't remember if it was the girl or Carrie. Does Carrie say he told me about him?
One of those people that I actively was like, you gotta come and see the show was Zach Braff.
Yeah, of course he does. Fucking Carrie brothers.
I had seen Colin perform at Largo a long time ago before we started Scrubs, and I thought, oh my, that's the guy from Men at Work, and he's so amazing. And I said to Bill, we've got to go to Largo. This guy is so funny. And Bill's like, I'm not going.
I used to say that by the time, it's a mistake, by the time you're in your 30s, you're cooked. You know what I mean? Is you know what you like musically. My wife searches for new music. Zach searches for new music, and these things converged.
I met that boy, Zach Braff, at a party one night. And I remember him at the party saying to me, I've got this gig in this television show. I said, good man. He said, I'm going to be the star. I said, more power to you. He said, I'll take your CDs in there and see if I can get them played on the show. I said, you do that very thing.
Bill comes up to me when we're doing Scrubs and says, you know what Zach says we should really do? I said, what? He said, Zach says we should really go to Largo and hear this guy, Colin Hay. I was like, really? Did Zach Braff say that we should go to Largo and see Colin Hay perform? And Bill's like, yeah, he's really funny. I was like, really, is he?
When I first saw him as a solo act, I've never seen someone that was such an open book. That's what struck me as much as the music, you know, especially in a town that 90% of the people you walk into spend most of their conversation telling you the fake giant things that they're currently doing. I'm developing this film, I've got this show development, this album's being recorded, you know, and to hear someone up there on stage saying, you know, I was here and now I'm here and I might actually be happier here.
And he brought the guy that created Scrubs down, a guy called Bill Lawrence, to see me play one night. And he said to me after the show, these are really good, these songs. Why don't I never hear these songs on the radio? I said, that's a fucking good question right there.
I immediately knew that were Colin Hay more easily packageable as a young singer-songwriter, that those would be some of the biggest songs out there. They were so good and they stick with you.
Just keep it down.
I can't get to sleep.
I think one of the things that's cool about the position that Bill is in all the time, and I'm in occasionally, is being able to break bands. But Bill was able to do it on Scrubs weekly, and you could say you could be in that rare position of like, how does no one know about this artist? This artist should be a household name. And it's such a cool, and you could literally make someone a household name overnight.
The opportunity to not only put his music on the show, but ultimately even to put him on the show. That I could be even a small part of people saying, I found Colin Hay's solo stuff because of you. It's one of the most fun things I've done career-wise.
Come back another day.
That'll do it.
I have other songs.
There you do.
It changed everything, really. Changed everything. I developed a huge younger following because of that. I remember being in a coffee shop in Springfield, Illinois. And there was a guy behind the counter serving coffee who was about 40 years old, and there's a guy who's about 20. And the younger guy looked at me and he goes, I love your music, man. I said, oh, thanks very much. He goes, Overkill, it's my favorite song. I said, thank you. And the older guy looks at him and he looks at me and he goes, you know who that is? And he goes, yeah, he's in Scrubs. And the older guy looks at me and he goes, what's Scrubs? He was in Men at Work. And the young guy goes, what's Men at Work? And then one day when I was shooting one of those episodes of Scrubs, I'm sitting on the park bench with Zach Braff, and he said to me, I'm writing a movie. I said, fuck, you're a busy boy. He said, I want to use one of your songs in the soundtrack. I said, well, you go right ahead. You do that.
So I think with that song, I knew I wanted to use something of Colin's in the movie, and I think with that moment with Natalie in the pet cemetery and the big crane move, it just, when you see it, you see it, and it was just kind of one of those things where we put it in, and it was just like, oh, well, there's nothing that's gonna beat that.
If I lived till I was 102, I just don't think I'll ever get over you. Soundtracks, as a rule, generally don't do that well, but this one went platinum. You know, it's like a fucking million people went out and bought the CD. The song was originally on an album of mine called Transcendental Highway in 1997, which did not go platinum. I think it reached mahogany status. It's a fine wood, but not platinum.
None of this happens if Colin isn't writing heartbreaking and beautiful material that is cross-generational.
But I don't want you thinking that I don't get asked to dinner, 'cause I'm here to say that I sometimes
Often if you're dealing with an artist that's been on a major label and they've had a certain level of success, then they don't have the right work ethic for what they do at this point to make it fit the independent label structure and just the methods that go along with selling records in that space.
I still feel like I'm starting again in many ways, although I'm 60, you know, and the last decade was all hand-to-hand combat.
And Colin was right there. You know, he was doing everything that an artist needs to do, taking it out to the road, you know, getting in front of the fans.
Every time he'd put one out, there'd be some really, really, really great stuff on there. Just like, wow.
us can be 25 forever. And if you don't change and if you don't evolve, you're doing something wrong and you're kidding yourself. And Colin is a real artist. He doesn't do that.
Kookaburra sits in the old gum tree, merry, merry king of the bush is he. Laugh, Kookaburra, gay your life must be.
Time, weather, and...
Kookaburra sits in the old gum tree, Kookaburra sits in the old gum tree, Kookaburra sits in the old gum tree.
G'day, my name's Adam Hills. Welcome to a special children's music edition of Spicks and Specks.
Well, there's a TV show called Spicks and Specks, a music trivia game show.
Name the Australian nursery rhyme this riff has been based on, as well as the name of the man playing it.
It's Men at Work.
Men at Work, Down Under.
Greg Ham is the flautist.
Greg Ham of Men at Work, yes.
And Down Under is...
No.
We don't know the rhyme.
That riff has been based on a nursery rhyme. All right, I'll give you one more listen to it. This bit especially.
Oh my God.
Kookaburra sitting in the old gum tree?
That's exactly right.
I don't know who their researcher was, but that was the question, and that was sort of the way it was put.
And I believe that somebody had contacted the owner of Kookaburra the next day and said, did you hear this? Were you aware of it? What? No idea.
One thing leads to another, and pretty soon we've got a legal case, and so that's sort of how it all kicked off.
It's one of the most iconic Australian pop songs of all time, but now a legal spat has broken out over whether the Men at Work song Down Under is actually a rip-off of a children's song.
Now the iconic Australian song and #1 hit could cost the band millions.
This is a really interesting part about this case and about, you know, the law and its application in particular to a sort of a creative process.
It was where the law and the arts just don't get each other.
In the song, there's at least half of Kookaburra distributed throughout various parts of the song and repeated various times.
Clearly, to me, that little piece of music was always in the arrangement of the song, and their ambit claim against the songwriters was just bad form.
Colin and Ron were playing Down Under. They'd written that song before Men at Work existed. That flute part was sort of added on later.
They were originally after 60% of the copyright of Down Under, which was a ludicrous thing as far as I was concerned.
It was devastating. It was devastating because it's a baby you're talking about. Our songs are our babies, and that was his baby.
I mean, I feel dumb because the whole litigation took place, you know. I think, well, how did it get to that point? Because surely we could have figured it out without going to court. But then I think about it and I thought, well, if somebody wants 60% of your song and there's 2 bars of their song, but it just didn't make any sense. So you have to defend it.
For someone to come along and say, hang on, you stole something within that song, and that song's not all yours, that affected him very personally.
You know, I remember talking to my father about it, and I was trying to calm him down because he knew the truth of it. You know, he knew that when I wrote the song that there was nothing appropriated from anybody because I played played all the songs I would write for them. I'd go down and see them and play them songs. So he was just incensed, you know, like smoke would come out of his ears, you know.
Colin and I got to Sydney and went to court with the whole circus around. And then Colin that day, he took his guitar and he sang for the judge. Man, the judge's face, I wish that people would have seen the judge's face. It was like his hero was in front of him. You know, he was so respectful of Colin. He understood. And he gave them the smallest amount because it was wrong. It was
You know, after 5 years of litigation, and you know, it cost something like $4.5 million. And in terms of what they got awarded, in dollar figures, you know, it's like 100 grand. So it's like $4.5 million chasing 100 grand. So they didn't really win. They just lost less than us.
The only people who won out of the whole deal were the lawyers. The lawyers did great. The publishing company made shit.
It affected the people in the band. It affected Colin's family.
It devastated Colin's daddy, I have to say. He wouldn't complain, you know, as much, but I knew that in his head, it was really going on.
And he was getting older and he was getting stressed and you know, I can't make any claim that this was the reason that he died, but I do feel instinctively that it really contributed to knocking him off his perch.
I never got to say goodbye to my old man before he died because he was in Melbourne and I was playing in Glasgow, strangely enough, on the River Clyde, about 20 streets away from where he was born. It was like some bleak poem.
We can't have this conversation, Colin Hay, without talking about the court case. And you've several times spoken to us about the impact it had on you, and now we're wondering about the impact it had on Greg.
And then Gregory, who felt incredibly guilty about having played the line, unconsciously or not, he goes downhill and can't seem to conquer whatever demons were going on. And he dies.
I definitely think it haunted him that lawsuit even happened. That's my own gut feeling about it. Greg Ham was a beautiful person and deserved to be around to this very day.
You know, it's blood. You know, it's people you love who you're losing over this litigation based on greed and opportunism, as far as I'm concerned.
Colin, your text to me earlier this morning was that you were due to perform. How can you go on stage with all of this swirling through your head? How are you coping with that?
It's difficult. It's difficult. I'm in Baltimore, but there's, you know, I don't know.
You okay?
Yeah, just he'll play with me tonight.
I remember playing down under in Brazil last year, and it was incredible. 25,000 people. I was playing there with a band, and the crowd was singing along, and I came back in to sing the third verse, and they all just kind of realized I was going to sing again, and they just went, "Whoa," and they gave me all their energy, and it was like, oh, I just felt like I was floating on top of the world. And then just at that moment, I thought of that fucking court case. And I just thought at that moment there in Paranchin with 25,000 people singing along and playing with the band and these dancers dancing on the stage, I just thought, they can't touch this.
Everybody loves that song, there's no doubt about it.
It's an iconic song in Australian culture, goes deep. But I think since that court case, that's had another dimension to it of kind of the underdog being done over by big business.
I said to the man, are you trying to tempt me? Because I come from the land of plenty. He said, oh, do you come from a land down under? Oh yeah, yeah. Women glow and men plunder. Can't you hear the thunder? You better run, you better take cover. 'Cause we are living in a land down under. Oh yeah. Women glow, men they plunder. Can't you hear the thunder? You better run, 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 better run, better run, better run, you better run. Living in a land down under, where women glow and men plunder. Can't you hear the thunder? You better run, you better take cover.
As I remember playing Rutgers College in the basement, and then playing in front of 17,000 people in New Jersey, and then waking up the next morning and having just as many wants and needs as I did when I was playing the basement. From that day, I learned that there is no final, like, boom, you've done it, success. With Colin, it might have taken him 16 years to get to playing however many people he plays in front of now, but he still won't stop because there is no finish line.
I had to ask myself a question. That if I never ever get back to those lofty peaks ever again, is playing on a Friday night at the Wilbur Theater in Boston. Is that going to be good enough? And you realize it's really not. Because any minute now, my ship is coming in. I keep checking the horizon.
He does it because he's a craftsman. And it's like somebody who's good at their job and they know it. Well, what do you do when you're good at it? You go out and do it. You don't stay home, you can't.
I talk about retirement and he just looks at me and he says, I don't even understand what that means.
If he just hung out and played in the garden and went on walks and hikes and read books, and he would slowly go crazy because he would not have that feeling of the purpose of being alive.
Creativity is my salvation. Going out on the road and those 2 hours, and what you get from that is, you know, you get high.
And you say, be still, my love. Open up your heart. Let the light shine in. Don't you understand? Oh, I already have a plan. I'm waiting for my real life to begin.
You do it to get to that, because that's the addiction. You want that. You want it again because it's clean, it's pure, and it only involves these people and you. So you can't fake that. You know, it doesn't happen from it's got nothing to do with a radio station or a record company. It has to do with connecting with people. You know, that's what I'm trying to tell you. hope that's what it is. Because otherwise I've been wasting my time.
On a clear day, I can see for a long way. On a clear day, I can see for a long Thank you very much.
What do you think about when you're
I think the key is not to think. I think thinking is a highly overrated activity.
The more Colin is himself, the more engrossing it is. That generosity is overwhelming.
I woke up this morning, same old questions in my head.
He's instantly inspiring.
I think he feels a need to connect with people, and he's really good at it.
What do you think about before a show, Brad? The light on. Should you decide to visit me?
And he is probably the best living troubadour today.
He's just so fucking good.
I've been an angry and a jealous man, and I have no right to be. Perhaps it's just my wicked, wicked ways catching up to me. Still, I've done my time and I've paid the price. And after all, what's just a little pain? If I learn from my mistakes, then my loss becomes my gain. Still, I
think it's that door.
Uh-huh. I'm not panicking.
Let's go back to the elevator.
Go back to the elevator, right there.
This didn't happen.
Oh, yes, it did. The beginning yet to come. I'm gonna throw the doors wide open. I'm gonna let my spirit run. I'll leave the light on. Should you decide? Should you ever decide? You may someday feel inclined to visit me. People ask me all the time, they say, why do you keep going on tour as much as you do? I suppose the simplest answer is that it makes me feel useful. Everybody has to find their place in this expanding universe. This is my place. Because I do like a simple song. Everyone can sing along. doesn't matter where you're from. Most people like a simple song. Sure is good to fall in love. Feels like a gift from up above. Can never seem to get enough. Yeah. Sure is cool to fall in love. Things don't always stay the same. She says she wants to give you back your name. Never clear just who's to blame. And it always gets so complicated. One day you wake up on your own. If I had kids, they'd all be grown. Of all the people I have known, true friends, there's not too many. But I'm not trying to bring you down. And I still get to play from town to town. Still is magic all around. And when I hit the ground, I'm running. But I don't want to die alone, where I cannot reach the phone. In my multi-story home. No, I don't want to die alone. And it's not preying on my mind, but I do think about it from time to time. And it's not likely to happen soon, but you may not even see it coming. So help me sing this simple song. Everyone sing along. It doesn't matter where you're from, 'cause one day we're here and then we're gone.